Are you happy with this new position?
New position? As what?
I mean, as part of the star system.
I don't think of myself that way. No, I don't like stars.
I know, no, you don't look like.
They're usually the worst artists. They're the most expensive and they're not really very good. There are certain artists who are very good because they have a good appeal to collectors, but they usually, the work usually doesn't, the value of it doesn't last very long. After they die, the work is forgotten. I don't know if they go to heaven.
To hell.
I think the work goes to hell, yeah.
You have an attitude like Solowit or Alighiero Boetti in a way. They didn't care during their life about the monetary problem.
Oh, I care about the
money. Yeah, but a little, not as a measure of success.
Oh no, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Some of the most expensive artists are some of the worst artists.
So there's not a strict relation. Apparently today, artists who cost a lot of money, they seem to be the most important artists.
And that has more to do with the art world and the mechanics of the art world and things like that, which the art world is a very kind of complicated, crazy place. It's where we function and we have to work with the art world, but a certain part of the art world, not that part that deals with
money and
the big time money or reputations. The art world has become a lot like like Hollywood or something like that. I mean, the biggest stars who make the most money may be very popular, but they're really not the best actors. The best actors are usually people that you see often, and they're always very good, but they're not really make. And then, unfortunately, this is what's happened with the art world. There are some very big stars whose work is very popular with a lot of people, but it's not really intellectually very interesting or aesthetically very interesting.
I saw a picture yesterday in a book. You know, we saw that book about Leo Castelli, life, the editor in Milano, and you were in a corner as a young artist.
Sitting on the floor.
As a very young artist among many other important artists.
Big stars.
And I think Leo was the last romantic dealer in a way. After Leo, there is a mutation in the market. May we say, we should not make names here, but may we say that the new style is Larry Gagosian after Leo Castelli?
I don't know anything about Gagosian. I knew Leo, of course, and people think of him as a great dealer, and I think he was a great dealer, not because he sold
a lot
work or anything like that, but because I think ultimately he really loves art. And I think this is true of some of my ideas, like D'Alembert. I mean, I think deep down he really cares more about the art than about selling. Of course, there's the practical aspect of selling, and he's very good at that, but Leo was that way. I mean, Leo never really sold a lot of works of mine, and yet, whenever I needed a show or did a show, he was very happy to do a show with me. You know, he loved the work. He never really sold very much compared to some of the other. I mean, one Warhol painting sold for more than probably all the works of mine that he ever sold. And yet, I did 5 or 6 shows with him.
So he made no difference among an artist selling well and an artist not selling?
I don't think he made a difference. I don't think he cared.
He was buying
if Leo loved the work, if he really liked the work, he would show it. He would try to help the artist in some way. It's really old world manners and old world tradition and things like that.
Maybe say is a sort of Italian way of approaching art.
I don't know if it's the
We are in
Italian
Italy,
way. I had great dealers. I mean, Paul Mance was a German, and he was a terrific dealer. Unfortunately, he retired from dealing, but I saw him working with collectors, and he was masterful in talking with collectors. In some ways, almost as good as Leo.
You know, this generation was used to work mostly with the artists than with the works. I mean,
They work with the
me,
artists and they work with the collectors too. I mean, there was this whole kind of complicated relationship between the collectors and the artists.
And the dealer in between is a trade union.
Yeah.
It's making the connections.
Yeah, he's part of the trio. If he was a good person who knew how to do that. Leo worked very hard. He didn't sell a lot of my work. I don't think the collectors that he developed for Warhol and Jasper Johns and Frank Stella and all of those people, they were not the same collectors that bought conceptual art. It was a different group of people. And for me, Leo was more of a kind of transitional dealer. It was great to have a show with him, and it was great for your reputation. Not financially great, but after Leo, then I was able to move on to other dealers who were...
He added something to your figure, to your
Yeah,
career, to
like
the
that.
image
And then,
of your
but
work.
people saw the work. That was another thing.
They saw
Whether you sold it or not, everybody went to the gallery
they
and saw what it was.
Under another light, under another point of view. Okay.
So it wasn't about finance. It was just about getting your work out into the public and having other people see it, young curators. And so shows that I did Leo, 20 years later, people say, oh, I remember that work you showed at Leo Castelli. I remember this.
Of course, we dedicate this part of our discussion to a colleague, to a master. But let's say something about your work. We're here to say something about your words. And can you say how you choose your words? What the common meaning among them?
I try to use states of mind. It's all intuitive. It's all intuitive. I mean, it's once you develop your style, I spoke about the style before, once you develop your way of working, then you develop certain intuitions, certain feelings of what works, what doesn't work. I'm always making notes of new words. Sometimes they seem to fit, sometimes they don't. I mean, the words just come from everyday reading.
Do you have a little agenda where you know?
I have a list, yes, yeah.
And you say,
not so little, it's pretty big.
Pretty big. How big is now? Once you told me your vocabulary consists of less than 300 words. Now it's a bit bigger.
No, it's about the same, but I keep changing. Some words go. I use too much, and then new words come. And
your words seem to me to have some certain meanings. One is to open to other meanings.
Yes, well,
and not to close.
I like to use words which are suggestive of feeling or states of mind or something like that. Not specific, like I wouldn't use the word chair or floor or something like that, no.
More an attitude.
An attitude, a feeling, an emotion, a state of mind, something suggestive.
Something who recalls
something that opens up something in someone's mind. Or maybe opens up, suggests a feeling or it opens up their imagination. I mean, every artist wants to get into someone's head and open up their imagination a little bit if they can do it. And this is what I try to do with the words I select. And
the last question, at the origin of conceptual art, few artists like you, like Ian Wilson, like Larry Wiener, they use words and language in different ways. You met these people cause of your work, or you knew them before? Was your work modified by their attitudes?
It's very hard to say because in those days everybody knew everybody. We all knew each other and were talking to each other. And it's really difficult to say where one thing comes. I mean, the idea of language in art is not new. It's an old idea. So obviously, it all had to do with this sort of small community in New York at that time. And then we discovered that there were these artists in Europe, in Italy, for instance, who were also using language and that we never heard of, that we never saw. So there must have been some kind of something in the air. I mean, it all goes back to John Cage or Duchamp or Fluxus or
and
who knows
was it in a way a reaction to the pop art?
No, I
To the
wasn't
object,
reacting
to the
against
accumulation,
anything.
no.
I didn't. I was happy with some
Was
forms
not
of pop
a
art.
willingness of clean situation?
Anti something.
Yeah, not accumulation of rubbish.
Not
but
for me, no. No. I never thought that way. I was never against anything. I mean, there were artists I like and artists I don't like. Obviously, it's a personal thing. But I can't say that I was ever anti anything. If a work of art looked, if I could relate to it and it looked good to me, it was okay. Except figurative painting. I never liked figurative painting. No, that's not true.
Bene.
I just think there are certain, art is a kind of knowledge, okay? I think you can learn something by looking at art. And
Warhol
if-
was a figurative painter.
yeah, but I think the early Warhols are wonderful, in fact. Well, I think, yeah, the thing about figurative painting is, it's about art as a kind of knowledge. Now, art, I think, is a body of knowledge. And if you, like any knowledge, the point about a good artist is he adds to that knowledge. He gives you something that you may not have thought about before, or a way of seeing something that's new, or... I think there are new things in art, by the way. There are some people say there's nothing new, but I think they're wrong. I think there are new things. But anyway, but like any knowledge, if I tell you something that you already know, or you're already familiar with, what good is it? I'm not telling you anything new. If I tell you something that you didn't know before, then that's something new, and that can be interesting for you. And this is what art is about. So the thing about, say, figurative painting, there really isn't anything new that is interesting about it that I can see. Oh, sure, there might be some variations, or they change the color, or this or that, but ultimately, deep down, conceptually, there really isn't anything new about it.
Was a big change in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Was following in a way Marcel Duchamp?
In a way, I think it wasn't that people were imitating him, but that he opened up a way of thinking about art that people began to understand. And once you open the door a little bit, then all kinds of ideas start flowing.
Can't close it.
Can't close it, no.
So the door is open. Thank you.